I should have known when she said it. It wasn't just a slip-up or a bad joke. No, it was a moment of clarity, one that would haunt me for the rest of my life. The night she came home late, I wasn't expecting anything different. After all, she'd been working drawing hours recently, and I'd learned to expect her unpredictability. But when she walked in, it wasn't just the late hour or the slight hesitation in her step that threw me off. It was her eyes. They weren't the same eyes I knew. They looked different, like she had just left behind a version of herself that I didn't even recognize. I had been sitting on the couch, mindlessly flipping through channels, waiting for her to come home so we could at least share a quiet evening together. But that wasn't going to happen. Not anymore. "Hey," I said, my voice breaking the silence. She looked at me and smiled, but it wasn't the genuine smile I had grown used to. There was something forced in it, something distant. "Hey, I'm sorry I'm late," she replied, setting her bag down, then running a hand through her hair. But her gaze lingered on the door as though she was calculating how fast she could leave again. I wasn't buying it. "You said you were going to be home earlier. What happened?" I asked, my voice betraying a little bit of the frustration that had been building up over the last few weeks. The late nights, the distant conversations, the sudden business trips she'd taken. I was trying to stay calm, trying not to sound like I was accusing her, but I couldn't help myself. Her eyes flickered for a moment, as though she was debating whether to tell me the truth, and for a split second, I thought I saw something shift in her. A guilt, perhaps, but it was gone as quickly as it appeared. She cleared her throat, adjusting her jacket, and said the words that changed everything. "It's just one night with my CEO," she said matter-of-factly. "He's my fantasy." I stared at her, completely blindsided. I couldn't breathe. My chest felt tight, like the air had been sucked out of the room. Did she just say that? Did she really just tell me that she was going to spend a night with her CEO? A man she had been working with for months, and now suddenly he was her fantasy? I thought maybe I'd misheard her. Maybe she didn't actually say it. But when I looked into her eyes, I saw it. The truth was right there, staring me in the face, and I couldn't escape it. I opened my mouth to respond, but the words didn't come. My mind was racing, 1,000 questions flashing through my head. What did she mean by fantasy? Was this some sort of joke? Was she testing me? I had no idea, but the one thing I knew for certain was that everything I thought I knew about my wife, everything we had built together, was coming apart at the seams. I could feel my pulse quicken. "What do you mean, Savannah? What does that even mean?" I demanded, unable to hold back the anger now building in me. She sighed, looking away. "It's nothing, Ethan. Don't make it a big deal. It's just one night. I've been feeling disconnected lately, and I need this. Please understand." Her words hit me like a slap in the face. I couldn't even process what she was saying. She was asking for my understanding, for my approval. After everything we had been through, after years of being together, now she was asking me to accept her stepping outside of our relationship, to accept her having an affair with her boss. I didn't know how to react. I was paralyzed, stuck in a moment that I couldn't escape. "Savannah, how could you even think I'd be okay with that?" I whispered, my voice trembling. Her face softened, but the apology didn't reach her eyes. "Ethan, it's not like that. It's just something I need. You don't have to worry about it. It's not like I'm leaving you. I'm just exploring something new, that's all. A new experience." I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This wasn't the woman I had married. The woman I had spent years with, the woman I had given my heart to, was now telling me that she needed to explore something new, something with her CEO. I didn't have the strength to argue. I just stood there, staring at her. My heart felt like it was being torn in two, and yet all I could do was nod. "Okay," I finally muttered, barely audible. I don't know why I said it. Maybe I was hoping that it would all turn out to be a misunderstanding. Maybe I was just too afraid to face the reality of it. But that night, when she left, when she walked out that door with her fantasy waiting for her, It was the moment everything changed, and it wasn't until the next morning that I realized just how deep this betrayal really went, because that phone call, the one I never saw coming, would be the one that destroyed everything. Her CEO called me, and the words he said were enough to shake the foundation of my life. "Who the hell is your husband?" he shouted into the phone. "The merger's dead." The phone call came like a punch to the gut. I wasn't prepared for it, didn't expect it, and certainly didn't know how to handle it. The words the CEO said were jarring, and for a long moment I stood frozen, unable to move or speak. "The merger's dead." The voice on the other end of the line growled. "Who the hell is your husband?" I could barely comprehend what I was hearing. My mind was still trapped in the previous night's conversation with Savannah. She had told me she was going to be with her CEO, and now the CEO was calling me, demanding to know who I was, what in the world had happened. I wanted to say something, anything, but the words wouldn't come. I stood there, gripping the phone in my hand, my heart racing, unable to make sense of it all. "Hello?" I finally croaked, my voice barely above a whisper. The CEO's voice came again, filled with a strange mix of frustration and anger. "Who the hell is your husband?" he repeated, his tone sharp. "She told me you were fine with this. She told me you knew." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My wife, the woman I had spent years with, had gone behind my back, not only to betray me emotionally, but now it seemed, professionally as well. I had no idea what he was talking about, but one thing was certain. This wasn't just a matter of infidelity anymore. This was something much bigger, something I wasn't prepared for. I, "What do you mean?" I asked, my voice cracking under the weight of the situation. "What merger? What are you talking about?" The CEO let out a frustrated sigh. "The deal we had, the one we were supposed to close this week, it's over. She messed it up. And now I'm left with a ruined deal and a lot of questions. You need to tell me who you are, and fast." I was speechless. My mind couldn't catch up with the speed of everything happening around me. What deal? What merger? Savannah had never mentioned anything about a business deal with her CEO. I couldn't even begin to understand how this connected with her affair. "Listen, I don't know what she's told you, but I have no idea what's going on," I managed to say, my voice shaking. "I'm her husband, Ethan Ward, but I don't know anything about a merger. She never told me about any of this. Why the hell would she not tell me about it?" The CEO seemed to soften a bit, as though he was starting to piece things together. "You mean to tell me she hasn't said anything about the project we were working on? Nothing about the investment that was going to change everything for her? You've been married to her for how long? And she never mentioned it?" I could feel a rising anger in me now, the kind of anger that I didn't even know I had in me. "No," I said sharply. "She didn't mention anything. All I know is she's been working late, coming home late, and now she's telling me she's with you. I don't know what's going on, but I'll tell you one thing. I'm not okay with this. I'm not okay with her lying to me." The CEO let out a sigh, as though he had just been given an unwelcome dose of truth. "I think I've got a better understanding of what's going on here, Ethan. I'll leave you with this. You've been played. She's been using you to cover up her own mistakes, and now I'm left to clean up the mess." He hung up without another word, leaving me standing there, staring at the phone in my hand. The room felt like it was closing in on me. The walls seemed to grow taller, the air thicker, and all I could do was try to breathe, try to make sense of it, but nothing made sense. Savannah had lied. She had kept secrets from me, and now she had destroyed something far bigger than our marriage. She had destroyed a career, a business deal, something I didn't even know existed until now. And what was worse, I had no idea how to fix it. I wanted to call her right then. I wanted to confront her, demand answers, and make her explain herself. But I didn't. I couldn't. I was too hurt, too confused. I needed to process everything. I spent the rest of the evening pacing around the house, my mind racing. I kept replaying the CEO's words in my head. "She's been using you. You've been played." What did that mean for me, for us, for our marriage? Could I even trust her anymore? I thought back to the last few weeks, the times when she had been distant, when she had made excuses to stay late or go on business trips. Was this all part of the same plan? Was I just some pawn in her game, someone she could use to cover up the bigger picture? When she finally came home that night, I was waiting for her. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't focus on anything. My mind was consumed by everything I had learned that day. She walked in, just as she had the night before, looking tired, worn out, and guilty. But this time it was different. I wasn't going to just let her walk past me. I couldn't. She froze when she saw me sitting on the couch, waiting for her. She knew what was coming. I could see it in her eyes. "Ethan," she said softly, "I'm sorry. No, you're not sorry," I interrupted. "You're not sorry for anything. You've been lying to me, Savannah, and now I know the truth." Her face went pale. "What do you mean?" she whispered, taking a step back. "I know about the merger, about everything," I said, my voice cold. "I know about Jeremy, and I know you've been lying to me this whole time." Her eyes widened in shock, but she didn't deny it. Instead, she lowered her head, and that was all I needed to know. The truth was out. The reality I had been living in was a lie, and nothing would ever be the same again. The silence between us hung in the air like a dense fog. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, my breath short as I waited for her to speak, to deny it, to apologize, anything that would give me a reason to believe she was still the woman I married. But instead, she just stood there, her eyes downcast, unable or unwilling to meet mine. I had never seen her like this before. Savannah, the woman who had always been so strong, so confident, was now a mere shadow of herself. She had always been the one to hold our relationship together, but now she was the one who was unraveling it. The truth had shattered everything, and there was no going back. "I didn't want you to find out this way," she finally said, her voice barely a whisper. "I wanted to tell you, but I didn't know how. I didn't know how to explain what was happening." "Explain?" I scoffed, the words bitter on my tongue. "You think I need an explanation? You think that somehow telling me you were sleeping with your boss, your CEO, would make this okay? That it would just fix everything?" She shook her head, her eyes welling with tears. "No, Ethan, that's not what I meant. I didn't want to hurt you. I didn't want any of this to happen." "Then why did you let it? Why did you keep lying to me? Why did you keep making excuses?" My voice was rising now, my anger flooding out, mixing with the hurt that was slowly consuming me. What was I to you, Savannah? A cover-up? A convenient husband to make you look normal while you lived out some fantasy with him? She took a deep breath, trying to steady herself, but the words that followed only made it worse. "It wasn't like that. It was just a mistake I regret more than anything. But it happened, and I can't take it back." I laughed bitterly, pacing the living room now, the frustration, the confusion, all of it swirling inside me. "A mistake? You think this is just some simple mistake? You had an affair, Savannah. And not just with anyone, with him, with your CEO, the man who probably already thinks he owns you, and now I'm stuck cleaning up the mess." "I'm sorry," she repeated over and over, her voice cracking with every word. "I never meant for it to go this far." "You never meant for it to go this far?" I mocked, spinning around to face her, my emotions taking over. "What do you think it's been like for me, Savannah? The endless late nights, the business trips, the constant excuses. And now I find out it wasn't just about your career. It was about him. It was about you choosing him over me." I watched as she broke down, her shoulders trembling as she sobbed. It was a sight that should have made me feel sympathy, but all I could feel was rage. I wanted to reach out, to hold her, but I couldn't. Not after everything. "Please, Ethan," she begged through her tears, her voice desperate. "Please don't say that. Please don't make this about him. It's not just about him. It's about me. I got lost somewhere along the way. I didn't know how to fix it. Her words were a mix of regret and confusion, but it didn't matter anymore. The damage was done, and the trust that once held us together had evaporated into thin air. I didn't know what to do, she continued, her voice barely above a whisper. I felt like I was drowning in my own life. The pressure at work, the pressure at home, it all got to be too much. And when Jeremy started paying attention to me, when he started making me feel like I mattered, I I just got lost in it. I didn't know how to stop. I could feel my stomach churn as her words hit me like a physical blow. She was telling me that she didn't just cheat on me with Jeremy. She cheated on me because she felt ignored, because she felt like she mattered more to him than she did to me. The man I was competing with wasn't just some stranger, it was my wife's need for validation that I had failed to provide. I don't know if I can forgive you for this, I said, my voice low, the weight of everything finally sinking in. I don't know if I even want to. She collapsed onto the couch, burying her face in her hands as the tears kept coming. Quote 5. For a long time, neither of us said anything. The only sound in the room was her sobbing and my heartbeat pounding in my ears as I tried to wrap my mind around what had just happened. I loved her, I did, but right then, I couldn't even recognize her. How could I? The woman I thought I knew, the woman I had trusted with my entire heart, had made choices that destroyed everything we had built together. And then, as if on cue, my phone rang. I didn't recognize the number, but I answered anyway, unsure of who would be calling me at this moment. The voice on the other end was unfamiliar, but there was a sharpness to it that made my blood run cold. Ethan Ward, the man asked, his voice tense. This is James from the legal team. I'm calling because we need to talk about the contract you were involved with. There's a situation regarding the merger that you need to be made aware of. I felt a cold shiver run down my spine as I looked at Savannah, still sitting on the couch, her face hidden behind her hands. How was I supposed to deal with all of this? How was I supposed to face whatever mess was waiting for me on the other side of that phone call, knowing everything I had trusted was falling apart? Uh, yeah, I replied, my voice shaky. What's going on? What's this about? You need to come in as soon as possible, James continued. The deal's off, and we have a few things we need to discuss. It's about Savannah's involvement with the project. We need your signature on something. As he spoke, I could feel the walls around me closing in. The woman I loved wasn't just messing with my heart. She had just helped destroy everything I had worked for professionally, too. My marriage was a wreck, and now my career was dangling on the edge of collapse. I barely heard the words the legal team member said after that. My mind was already miles away, spiraling in every direction. Savannah, the woman I had spent the last 7 years of my life with, had single-handedly set my world on fire. Not just emotionally, but professionally too. How could I have been so blind to the lies, to the web of deceit she had been weaving? I looked at her, sitting there on the couch, still wiping away her tears, and I felt a wave of disgust wash over me. She had said she was, quote, 6, but how could she get so lost that she didn't even see what she was doing to us? To me, the longer I stood there, the harder it became to breathe, to even think. Everything she had told me over the years now felt like a carefully constructed lie, a performance that I was too naive to notice. Quote 7. Savannah said, her voice breaking through the whirlwind of my thoughts. Quote 8. But the words felt empty. They were just words, after all. Words that didn't undo the damage she had caused, the chaos she had unleashed. And now everything was crumbling in front of me like a house of cards, all because of her choices. Quote 9. I finally managed to say, my voice so cold it surprised even me. Quote 10. I took a step back, the anger swelling in my chest. Well, quote 11. She opened her mouth to respond, but I didn't want to hear it anymore. I couldn't. I was so angry that my hands were shaking, my thoughts scattered in every direction. Before she could say another word, I turned and stormed into the other room, grabbing my phone from the table. The weight of the situation was finally sinking in. I had no idea where to even begin fixing it, but I had to try. The legal team's call wasn't the only thing on my mind. What about the company's future? What about my career? How was I supposed to stand by my wife when it felt like she had burned every bridge? The betrayal wasn't just personal, it was professional too. Everything was tangled together in a web of lies I didn't know how to untangle. I called my attorney, my voice barely controlled. I need you to look into everything. I need to know what she's done. What he's done. I don't care how much it costs. Just figure it out. I could hear the concern in my lawyer's voice. Ethan, calm down. What happened? Just get me the information, okay? She's ruined everything, I snapped. She's been lying to me. And now the deal I've been working on for months is gone. It's over. There was a pause on the other end, then a slow exhale. All right, I'll get the team on it, but you need to take a step back. You're too close to this right now. Let me handle it. I hung up without saying another word. I felt like I was losing control of everything, and yet it was happening so quickly that I barely had time to process what was even going on. The legal side of things was now a disaster. The business side was on the verge of collapse. And then there was Savannah, the woman I thought I knew, the one I had trusted with my entire heart, sitting in the other room, still crying and pleading with me to understand. I walked back into the living room, my mind still spinning. I couldn't look at her the same way anymore. I couldn't pretend that everything was okay. I asked, my voice quieter now, though the anger was still there, simmering beneath the surface. Quote, 13. She shook her head, tears streaming down her face. Quote 14. Out of control, I repeated, my anger flaring again. Quote 15. She tried to reach for me, but I stepped back, my emotions running high. I didn't want her to touch me. I didn't want her to try to fix this with a hug or a kiss. I wanted answers. I wanted accountability. I wanted her to finally admit what she had done to me, to us, but she couldn't, not really. I love you, Ethan, I do, she whispered through her sobs. And I'm sorry. I can't take it back, but I'll do whatever it takes to make this right. Just tell me what you need from me. But it was too late for apologies. The damage had been done, and I wasn't sure I could ever look at her the same way again. The trust I had given her for so long had been completely shattered. What was left? Was there even anything left to save? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed again. This time, the number was unfamiliar. I hesitated for only a moment before answering. Hello? Ethan. The voice on the other end said, calm but cold. This is Jeremy Hale. We need to talk. I froze when I heard his voice, the voice of the man who had slowly crept into my life, who had taken my wife's attention, her trust, and, as it now seemed, her heart. Jeremy Hale, the CEO, my wife's lover, the man who had been the catalyst for this entire disaster. I could hear the calmness in his voice, but it made my blood boil. Ethan, he said again, as if we were old friends. I think we need to talk. It's important. I clenched my fist around the phone, my knuckles turning white. You think we need to talk? I managed to spit out, my voice low and full of anger. What is there to talk about? You've taken everything from me, my wife, my trust, my future, and now you want to talk? There was a slight pause on the other end of the line. I could almost hear him weighing his next words. Look, I get that you are upset. I'm not trying to make things worse, but we both know this situation needs to be handled carefully. I don't want any more fallout from this than you do. Fallout, I sneered, feeling the heat rise in my chest. You don't get to call this fallout. You don't get to act like this is some kind of business transaction. This is my marriage, my life, and you've ruined it all. There was a silence, and then Jeremy sighed, as though he had been expecting this kind of response. I know you're angry. I would be too. But you're not hearing me, Ethan. I'm not the only one involved here. Your wife has made her choices, and I'm not the one who's been lying to you for months." His words stung. He was right in a way. Savannah had made her choices, and I couldn't blame him entirely for what had happened. But at the same time, he had been the one pushing her, manipulating the situation until everything came crashing down. His actions were as much a betrayal as hers. "I'm done with your excuses," I snapped, my pulse racing. "If you're calling to make some kind of apology, forget it. I don't want it. I want answers. I want to know what happened. I want to know how far this thing with you and Savannah went. I want the truth, Jeremy. No more games." Another long pause. I could almost hear him taking a deep breath, as if he knew this conversation was about to take a turn he hadn't expected. "All right," he finally said. "You want the truth? Fine. Let's start with this. What happened between Savannah and me wasn't planned. It wasn't some premeditated affair. It started with something small, just a conversation about the work project we were working on. But over time, it turned into something more, something neither of us could control." I felt my blood pressure spike as he continued. "I didn't force her into anything, Ethan. I didn't manipulate her. But I won't deny that there was something between us. She needed someone to lean on, and I was there. Maybe that was my mistake. Maybe I should have stopped it sooner, but I didn't. I should have." I listened to him, trying to keep my anger in check, but the words felt like daggers. It was all too easy for him to justify his actions. It was easy for him to act like this was some kind of simple mistake, something that just happened. But the reality was far uglier. They had crossed a line together, and I was left in the wreckage of it all. "So, what now?" I asked, my voice sharp. "Are you going to tell me that you've both been living in some fantasy world where you can do whatever you want without consequences? Do you think this will just blow over? That I'll be okay with everything that's happened?" Jeremy hesitated, the silence on the other end of the line almost suffocating. "Ethan, I don't think you understand the situation. This isn't just about you and me. This is about something much bigger now. The merger, everything we've been working on. It's all tied up in this mess." I felt the weight of his words settle on me like a ton of bricks. What did he mean? What merger? What project was he talking about? "What are you talking about?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper now, filled with confusion. "What merger? What does this have to do with anything?" There was a long pause before Jeremy spoke again, his voice now quieter, more serious. "Savannah didn't just ruin your life, Ethan. She ruined all of this." He paused again, almost like he was testing whether or not to say the next part. "The deal we had lined up, the one that was going to bring in millions. It's dead, and it's dead because of her." My heart dropped. The millions we could have made, the future I had been working so hard to secure, gone, in an instant, because of her. And not just her actions, but because of what she had gotten herself tangled in with Jeremy. I couldn't breathe. My mind was racing as the enormity of the situation hit me. This wasn't just about her betrayal of me as a husband. This wasn't just about a wife stepping out with another man. This was about my future, my livelihood, my career, everything I had built being completely destroyed in a single moment. "You're telling me that everything I've worked for is gone?" I asked, my voice shaking with disbelief. "That this merger, this deal, was tied to what Savannah did?" "Yes," Jeremy confirmed, his voice a little quieter now, as though he too was realizing the full extent of the wreckage. "The deal was on the line because of trust, Ethan. And once that trust was broken, it all fell apart. We can't move forward. It's over." I stood there in stunned silence, my hand gripping the phone as though it were my last lifeline. Everything, everything I had worked for was gone. And the one person who was supposed to have been there with me, supporting me, was the one who had caused it all. Savannah had ruined my future. She had ruined us both. And now, with that final blow, I had to decide what to do next. Would I walk away from everything, from her, from my career, and from the future we had once dreamed of? Or would I keep fighting, even knowing that everything I held dear had already been lost. But I wasn't ready for the choice that was coming next. I wasn't ready to hear what Savannah had to say when I walked into that room and confronted her once more, because this time it wasn't just about forgiveness, it was about survival, and I didn't know if I could survive what had just been taken from me. I hung up the phone with Jeremy, but the weight of his words kept pressing on me. The gravity of what he had said, the merger, the money, the future I thought I was building was suffocating. And it wasn't just the financial loss. It wasn't just the ruined opportunities or the professional collapse. It was the betrayal, the realization that the woman I trusted with everything had done something so much worse than just have an affair. She had single handedly destroyed our future, not only emotionally, but professionally as well. I didn't know what I was supposed to feel: anger, grief. I couldn't even identify it. I stood there, my hand still gripping the phone, my mind spinning. All the things I had worked for, all the things I had sacrificed for this life, for this woman, gone in an instant because of a lie, because of her. I couldn't stay in that house. I needed air. I needed distance from her, from everything. The walls were closing in and I couldn't breathe. Without thinking, I grabbed my keys and walked out the door, the cool night air hitting me like a slap in the face. I didn't care where I was going. I just needed to get away from the nightmare I was trapped in. I drove for hours, the city lights passing by in a blur, the sound of the engine, the only thing keeping me grounded. But even then, my mind kept going back to her, to Savannah. I had no idea what I was supposed to do next. How could I fix this? Could I even fix this? And more importantly, did I want to? I thought about all the good times we'd shared, the laughs, the quiet moments, the years we spent together. But now they felt like they belonged to a different life, one that had been stolen from me. By the time I got back home, it was past midnight. The house was dark, silent. Savannah was probably asleep, oblivious to the storm she had set in motion. I stood in the doorway for a long time, looking at the place where we had once built our life together. Everything felt cold, distant, like it no longer belonged to me. I couldn't put it off any longer. I needed answers. I needed to confront her. I needed to know what she was thinking, how she could betray me like this. I walked into the living room where she was sitting, still in the same spot as before, staring at the floor. When she heard me, she looked up, her face pale, her eyes red from crying. The sight of her broke something inside me, but the anger was stronger. I could feel it building again, like a fire that wouldn't be put out. I just got off the phone with Jeremy, I said, my voice cold, barely a whisper. She stiffened, her eyes widening. Ethan, please, please, let's talk about this. I'm so sorry. Sorry? I snapped, cutting her off. Do you think that makes it okay? Do you think you can just say sorry and I'll forget everything? I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I never wanted to hurt you, she pleaded, her voice trembling. Then why did you do it? I demanded. Why did you betray me like this, Savannah? Why did you let it go this far? The lies, the secrecy. How could you think this was okay? She stood up, pacing in front of me, her hands wringing together. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to fix it. I've been so stressed, so overwhelmed with everything, work, the pressure, everything. And then Jeremy started showing me attention. I felt like I mattered. For once, I felt like someone cared about me. Someone cared about you, I repeated, incredulity creeping into my voice. What about me? Did I ever stop caring about you? I've been here, working my ass off to build a future for us, and you went behind my back and destroyed everything. She stopped pacing and turned to face me, her expression defeated. I didn't want to lose you, Ethan. I swear I didn't. But when it all happened with Jeremy, it felt like I couldn't stop it. It wasn't just about him. It was about me, about what I was missing, what I needed. And I made a terrible mistake. I felt a surge of frustration, of helplessness. It wasn't just about the affair. It wasn't just about her cheating on me. It was about everything: the lies, the secrets, the total disregard for what we had built. She wasn't just betraying me emotionally. She was unraveling everything in our lives. She was destroying us in a way that I didn't even think was possible. I ran a hand through my hair, trying to calm down, but the rage wouldn't go away. You don't get it, Savannah. This isn't just about us anymore. This is about everything you've destroyed. The deal that Jeremy was talking about, it's gone. The career I've spent years building, ruined. She looked at me in confusion. What do you mean? What deal? What are you talking about? The merger, I said, my voice bitter. The merger that I've been working on for months, the one that was supposed to secure everything for us, for me, for my career. That's dead now. And you're telling me you didn't know it would affect anything? That it was just a mistake? Her face drained of color as the reality of what she had done sank in. I didn't know, she whispered, the words barely escaping her lips. You didn't know? I repeated, my voice rising. How could you not know? You were the one who set this whole thing in motion. You were the one who betrayed me, who ruined everything we had. You were the one who didn't think about the consequences. She collapsed onto the couch, her face buried in her hands as she sobbed. I'm so sorry, Ethan. I don't know how to fix this. I don't know what to do anymore. I stood there, numb, my emotions a mixture of anger and disbelief. I had been right all along. She had been hiding something from me. She had betrayed my trust in the worst possible way. And now I was left to pick up the pieces of everything she had shattered. Do you even want to fix this? I asked quietly, my voice thick with emotion. Or is it too late for that? Savannah looked up at me, her eyes pleading. I do, Ethan. I swear I want to make it right. I'll do whatever it takes. But I didn't know if I could believe her anymore, because somewhere along the way, Savannah had stopped caring about us, about what we had built together. Somewhere along the way, I had become a stranger in her life, and I didn't know if I could ever find my way back to her, or if I even wanted to. The weight of her apology hung in the air, but it did nothing to ease the knot in my chest. I stood there, frozen in place, unsure of what to do next. Savannah, the woman I had shared everything with, the woman I thought I knew, had just completely shattered my trust. And no matter how much she cried, no matter how many times she said she was sorry, it didn't change what had happened. The words she spoke sounded empty now, hollow. She had destroyed more than just our marriage. She had torn apart the life we had built together, and I wasn't sure I could pick up the pieces. She was sitting on the couch, still wiping away tears, and for the first time, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know if I was supposed to comfort her or to walk out. Part of me wanted to walk away, to leave everything behind and never look back. But there was another part of me, maybe the part that still loved her, that wanted to understand why. Why had she done this? What had driven her to betray me so completely? Ethan, she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. Please, I know I've ruined everything, but if there's even a small chance we can fix this, I'll do anything. I will do whatever it takes to make it right. I looked at her, feeling the bitter taste of her words in my mouth. Make it right? You can't just make this right. Savannah, you don't get to undo what you've done. You don't get to just fix it with a few sorries. She winced at my harsh tone, but I couldn't help it. I didn't know how to process this. How could I even begin to fix something so broken? The lies were everywhere, and with each lie, everything else crumbled. My heart felt like it was slowly being ripped apart by the truth, but the truth was so ugly that I wasn't sure I could face it anymore. She looked at me, her face a mask of regret and despair. I was wrong, Ethan. I was stupid. But please don't give up on me, on us. I love you. I always have. Her words echoed in my mind, and for a brief moment, I almost believed her. I almost wanted to believe her, but then I thought of everything she had done, the secrecy, the betrayal, the way she had lied to my face for months, and I realized that this wasn't something that could just be brushed away. This wasn't something I could forgive overnight. I don't know if I can ever trust you again, I said, my voice shaking with emotion. I don't know if I can ever look at you the same way. I understand, she whispered, her voice thick with regret. I don't expect you to just forgive me. I know I've hurt you more than I could ever explain, but I will fight for you. I will fight for us. I just need a chance. I didn't know what to say to that. How could I give her a chance? After everything, she had destroyed the one thing I had valued above all else, our relationship. The life we had together was now a lie, and there was no going back from that. I don't know if I can even stay here tonight, I muttered, my heart heavy. I don't know if I can be in the same room as you after what you've done. I don't know if I can forgive you. Not yet, I'm not ready. Savannah's face crumpled and she broke down into tears once more. She tried to reach out to me, but I stepped back, instinctively putting distance between us. Every part of me wanted to run, to escape from this nightmare. I had never felt so betrayed, so lost in my own life. I grabbed my jacket from the back of the chair and walked toward the door, pausing before I opened it. I need space, I said, my voice low but resolute. I need to think about everything. I don't know what comes next, but I can't do this right now. Without waiting for her response, I stepped out into the night, the cool air hitting me like a slap to the face. The city around me was quiet, too quiet. It felt like everything had stopped, and I was the only one moving. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know what I was looking for. But I needed to be far away from her. I needed to clear my head. As I walked aimlessly through the streets, my mind kept racing. I kept thinking about the conversation I had had with Jeremy, the merger, the future. It wasn't just the betrayal anymore. It was the fallout. Savannah hadn't just ruined our relationship. She had ruined everything else too. She had ruined me, and I didn't know if there was any way to fix it. It was a cold night, but the weight of what I had learned made me feel even colder. I couldn't believe how everything had turned upside down in such a short amount of time. One minute, I had been living my life, thinking I had everything figured out, and the next minute, it was all gone, torn apart by lies, betrayal, and one single decision she made in the heat of the moment. I didn't know where I was headed, but I knew one thing for sure. I had a choice to make. I could try to rebuild, to somehow find a way to move past this, but I wasn't sure I wanted to. I wasn't sure if I could ever go back to the way things were, or if I even should. And then, as I stood there in the quiet, dark street, another thought crept into my mind. Maybe it wasn't just about moving forward. Maybe it was about something else, something more satisfying, something that felt more like justice than forgiveness. I had been wronged, but did that mean I had to forgive? Or was there another path, one that might bring me the satisfaction I needed? The answer was right in front of me, but I didn't know if I was ready to take it. I looked up at the dark sky, my thoughts swirling. The choice, it seemed, was mine alone. The cold night air stung my face as I stood still, processing everything that had happened. Savannah's apology, Jeremy's words, the collapse of everything I had worked for. It all seemed like too much to handle at once. But in that moment, as I stood on the edge of what felt like total destruction, something shifted within me. I realized that, for the first time in a long time, I was truly in control. This was my life. I was the one who could decide what came next. And maybe, just maybe, this wasn't the end of my story. Maybe, instead of wallowing in betrayal and regret, it was time to find a way to take back what was mine. I didn't know exactly how, but I knew one thing. I wasn't going to let this define me, this mess, this heartbreak. It wasn't going to be the last chapter of my life. It couldn't be. I made my way back home, my steps slower now, but more deliberate. The decision had been made. I would confront Savannah not just to find answers, but to figure out if there was anything left worth saving. Was there a future in which we could rebuild, together or apart? When I opened the door, she was still sitting on the couch, her tear-streaked face turning toward me as I stepped inside. She looked up at me, her eyes filled with fear and uncertainty. I could see the weight of her guilt in every line of her face. But there was something else there too, something that still resembled the woman I had loved. I took a deep breath before I spoke. I don't know where we go from here, Savannah. I don't know if I can ever trust you again. But I do know this: I'm not walking away from my life, from everything I've worked for, not without a fight. She looked up at me, her breath catching in her throat. Ethan, what are you saying? I'm saying I don't have all the answers, I continued, my voice steadier now, but I want to try. If you're willing to fight for this too, then maybe, just maybe, we can start over. Not as the people we were before all of this, but as something else, something stronger, something real. Savannah's eyes filled with tears again, but this time there was hope behind them. She stood up slowly, her hands trembling as she reached out to me. I will fight, Ethan. I swear I'll do whatever it takes. I could see it then, the sincerity in her eyes. I wasn't sure it would be easy, but I knew that for the first time in a long time, I believed in the possibility of change. Not just for her, but for me too. I walked toward her, taking her hand in mine, and for a moment, everything else faded away. The mistakes, the hurt, the betrayal, all of it seemed distant in that moment. What mattered now was the decision we had made to face the future, whatever it might bring, together. I don't know what happens next, I said quietly, but I know that I'm not giving up on us. Not yet. And with that, something inside me began to heal. It wasn't an instant fix, nor was it a perfect resolution, but it was a start, a new beginning. And sometimes that's all you need.